Yeah, good to see everybody. I appreciate y'all being here. Obviously, this is the first opportunity that I've had to, publicly address you guys since I've been back here. So just wanted to say how grateful I am for the opportunity to be at LSU, the opportunity that Coach and Scott have given me to be here to help lead this program. It's something that my family and I don't take lightly. As you guys know, my kids were born here. My wife graduated from school here, so we have a great affinity for this place, and it's an honor to serve this institution, our student athletes, the Baton Rouge community, and the great people of Louisiana. Had another great practice today. 20 practices in, 233 days since we last played a football game, 3.5 weeks of camp, so really excited about where we're going, the opportunity to go on the road and play a Clemson team that's well coached and very talented. But I'm really proud of our staff and our players and the work that they've put in with Coach's guidance, and his vision for our program. I feel like we're in a great spot. We're ready to go compete. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Austin, actually something that's kind of looking ahead. What collectives can do seems to be a little bit more ambiguous than it was in January.
Sure.
With that in mind, where does the money need to come from for this 2026 team, this recruiting class that y'all are working on? Is that just revenue sharing? Sort of how is LSU approaching that now that it's a little unclear what collectives can do and what Bayou Traditions is doing?
Sure, yeah, that's a really good question, Wilson. And I think the thing that we always say is, we're part of an imperfect model right now, right? And so we understand that there are challenges, and we're receiving guidance every week, right, as to what this looks like. For LSU, we put a plan in place about 15 months ago that allowed us to operate today where we are, right, understanding where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go. I think that gave us some advantages going into the back half of 2025 and 2026. And then from there, what we have to do is just work within the parameters of what the guidance, says and the legislation says as we get it and as it comes to us. And so we don't have all the answers right now. We're not the knower of all things. But I do think we have operated with purpose and intent in everything that we've done to put ourselves in position to not only sustain for 2025 and into 2026, but beyond. You asked the question about the collectives. Again, I think there's some gray there right now, and so we're trying to maximize the space that we're able to work in there as far as the parameters that have been given. But at the end of the day, the true answer is we don't know exactly what that looks like yet. So we'll operate out of the rev share, we'll operate out of third party corporate sponsorship, and then from there kind of build the rest around that as we can.
Earlier this week, Brian talked about just kind of surrendering some of that control that he's had for 34 years, right? So if you could peel back the curtain as comfortable as you are, I guess, to kind of show us how you all work as a team, what Kelvin does, what Sam does, whatever, Jeff, whatever your staff is, and kind of how do you guys navigate the day-to-day and the big picture?
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate Coach Kelly. He's extremely bright, extremely adaptable. That's the one thing I'll say about him is he's done this for 34 years as a head coach, and you don't get here without the ability to adjust and adapt in everything that you're doing. And so he and I have a great relationship. We work together on a daily basis. We have a lot of open dialogue, whether it's staff, whether it's roster, whether it's support staff, right, just trying to build the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And so, going back, right, just kind of peeling this back a little bit, we decided, last year that we wanted to evaluate where we were, what we are and where we want to go, right, and what can take us to that next level. And we divided it into a couple phases. And we have great people in this building, and what we needed to do was get those people in position to let their personality shine and give them an opportunity to flourish and grow. And so we did a lot of that in the spring, right, and then we actually lost a lot of people this spring as well and into the summer unexpectedly to great jobs and great opportunities. And it's one of the reasons why you come to LSU, to be developed to get those opportunities. And what that really did is that allowed us to accelerate phase 2 of the modernization of our organization. And we were able to go out and really become more efficient. I think we lost 6 bodies. We condensed that into 3 positions, and it allowed us to go really be efficient and have defined and clear roles in what we were doing and the opportunity that these people would have to come here in Kelvin and Sam and Jeff. And those guys, they've been a blessing. They all have a different skill set. We're always looking to bring in new ideas, right? I talked about Coach being adaptable and us not being the knower of all things. When you get people from the outside, sometimes they have the ability to show you a different way. And we want to be the best version of ourselves that we can be holistically as an organization. And so from that standpoint, having a Sam here who's done it at the really high, the highest level, right, whether that's at Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, he's a guy that has a lot of experience and knows what it looks like, and we lean into that. We welcome that. Kelvin, one of my best friends in the world, was my first hire when I got to Oxford. And I just think he's so smart, so talented. He's a relationship builder and a guy that's going to help in that space tremendously. And then Jeff Martin is a former Tiger, bleeds purple and gold. Really dynamic as far as his ability to build relationships, to think on his feet, to keep us on the cutting edge, from a technology and innovation standpoint. And so all those guys, as they come in and help manage our roster and personnel and staff, they all play a different role, but at the same time, it's allowed us to really be a cohesive unit.
Hey, Austin, you talked a bit about it, but building out that staff and organization, or kind of the approach to it, you've been through a little bit of everything in this game. How much do you draw on kind of your entire experience? As you said, you're hired back Jeff and Sam now, but
Sure.
As well as KB, who worked with you at Ole Miss. Kind of what was your outlook in this phase 2 of the modernization of what was really important going into this next year?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good question, Shay. Again, I think you always take pieces of the places you've been, and I've been blessed to be a lot of different places and around a lot of great people that I don't have enough time to thank for the people that have invested in me in my career and the growth that they've given me and the opportunity to fail and grow and get better, right? I think that's part of learning. And from there, just taking those experiences and drawing on those and using those relationships that you've built and cultivated over time, right, that help you understand what we want to be and what we want to become as an organization, again, to be elite in every facet of our operation, right, as a high-performance building. You draw on that and you lean on that. And some of that is gut and intuition and experience. And then some of it is, dialogue and relationships and that you have outside the building as well. And so just bringing all those pieces together, I think is important and has really served us well here in the last couple of months.
Austin, after having an incredible year last year, retaining your roster, and then the really fantastic December portal you had, what'll be different? What do you have to be prepared for this coming year in that regards? What has changed?
I think the only thing that's constant is change. And so what we do is we have to prepare for that, right? And a lot of the work that we're doing now, we're sowing the seeds to put our organization in the best possible scenario to retain our roster and build around what we have, right? And so every season is different. Every team is different. They're all independent of the last and the next. And so what you have to do is you have to retain first, and you have to build that foundation and lay that and understand what you have. And before you can know what you need, you have to know what you have, right? And so that's a big piece of what we're doing right now is kind of building that out, what that looks like at the end of 2025 and into 2026 to allow us to get a head start on the retention of our program. And then from there, you work out, right? And so the first phase is laying that foundation, and then the second phase is going out and trying to, not only in the high school class, but also in the transfer portal as guys enter into the portal, building around, that foundation that we have to make us the best team that we can possibly be.
Hey, Austin. I believe I read earlier this year that you and Scott took a trip up to Seattle and spent some time with the front office and their organization. I'm curious what you maybe learned from that experience and just maybe how similar is this model to what you guys or what you learned from what those guys had to tell you? Like how similar or different are the two, and just maybe explain some of that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Glenn. I appreciate it. Scott and I did take a trip to Seattle on our bye week last week. It was an incredible opportunity to go learn with the Seahawks organization. And again, we were all ears listening to what they had to say and what they had to tell us, right, in ways that we could maximize really our roster and the allocation of funding, right? And kind of drawing parallels between the NFL salary cap and what we do here, right? And so there's some similarities there, but there's also a lot of differences. I mean, the NFL salary cap's about $280 million this year. Ours is significantly less. And so from there, just kind of drawing those parallels, positionally and understanding how you break that down, right? How do you build a roster? And for us, it's difficult because, we're at the next level, there's a lot of transparency with the organizations. There's none, right, in the college game. And so understanding that and be able to have kind of a matrix to launch from, I think is really important. And what they did is they really backed us and made us feel sound in our judgment in how we were building it and how we were allocating our funding across the positions and then every position within, every spot within every position, right, to, again, maximize the compensation that we can pay to our players as we moved into the revenue share era. So it was a really good visit and really important for us to kind of validate our process.
Yeah, I guess just in that same vein, right, like you don't know what you don't know, but how much more comfortable are you as this thing evolves, kind of feeling like you do have the right numbers for your position groups and that you are kind of doing it the right way? And is that universal, or as you said, is it still pretty hidden, amongst the different teams? And do you feel comfortable that you're competitive in that realm?
Yeah, I think the proof is in the pudding that we've been competitive in that space and will be as competitive as anybody in America. The one thing I will say is that I feel very sound in what we're doing and how we're doing it. Again, it all comes down to disciplined decision making, right? Removing emotion, making decisions based on the facts and the data that's out there, and then experience and intuition come into play after that. But those are the things that really guide us. I think we have a great matrix as to how we've built it, and I think from there, it just serves as a launching point, right? And what that does is that doesn't mean it's an end-all. It's kind of etched in sand, right? And so then there are different things that move that matrix up and down, based on the talent of the player, what you have on your roster, what's available if you don't get that player. And so there are a lot of variables that kind of move it up and down from there, but I think the launching point is very sound. And I believe in it a lot, as does Coach Kelly and our staff.
Austin, another question about the collectives. In your experience, based on how you've worked with the new clearinghouse and the new guidelines and all that, how much leeway in your experience is the Dole Clearinghouse giving to the collectives in terms of the deals that they provide to athletes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's TBD. We don't know yet. That's a couple weeks ago that ruling came out that the collectives could potentially be an avenue for compensation in the third party space. And so I think a lot of people are just trying to navigate that and figure it out right now based on the guidance that's been given to us. And so just kind of test the market and see what that looks like, and that's kind of what we're doing in that space at the moment to kind of maximize what that can be for us long term.
Just a couple easy ones for you. Do you have an SEC liaison that you all kind of collaborate with, or is it really in-house only?
It's pretty much in-house, and you do have some relationships, right? And that's the blessing, in my experience, kind of going back to Shay's question earlier, just my career, right, and my imperfect journey through this game of football, right, and being my third time at LSU. You've seen a lot of people, you've met a lot of people. Out of here, we've developed a lot of people, right? And so I think there's 4 or 5 sitting GMs in the SEC that worked here or that I worked with directly. And so you do lean on those relationships at times and have conversations, but mostly it's in-house, right? Everybody kind of has their way that they're doing it, and we worry about us and we worry about what's in front of us and our way of operating.
How has it affected the student athletes? Do you feel like you've gotten positive feedback now that things have kind of tightened up a little bit and everybody's on a better understanding of what to expect?
I do. Our players, our roster, they've been great. I think education is key, and so we try to do that frequently so that they understand. I think that's a big piece of it, right? Because you do have a lot of information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. And so to be able to have conversation with them, with their parents, with their agents and people that are decision makers in their circle, it's important because, again, we want to represent ourselves the right way, and our word is our bond. And so the ability to communicate with them effectively and show them kind of our plan for what this looks like and operate within the parameters of the space we're given is paramount to us having success, because those guys, you have to build trust, right? And that's what this comes down to at the end of the day.
just looking as like an overview, how has your job tangibly changed in the last 6 to 8 months?
That's a really good question. You know, I'll go back 10 years, right? So when I did this 10 years ago, I never thought it would get here this fast. You know, as far as the management of the day-to-day of the organization and the program, that hasn't changed at all. The financial component has obviously added a lot to that, right? And so I think, again, it's about hiring great people, people that are really solid at what they do and have an understanding of this space to help alleviate, you know, some of that pressure or that burden that you have on a daily basis is important to having sustained success. And so, again, we've been able to go out and do that, and I think it's changed tremendously in that a lot of my day-to-day, even right now, is you know, financially driven, right? And it used to be just kind of the operations of our organization and hires, but really now it's staff, support staff, players, all the way down. And so it's become a little more of a business, but I like to say we're a family with a couple business principles that have to apply, and that's how we continue to try to operate.
You talked about, I guess, this a bit, but BK has said a lot how far y'all came right when you got here to the first year in to now. When you think even before RevShare this summer, y'all were going toe-to-toe with a lot of teams with very deep pocketbooks around the country and winning those battles, and then you get this elite portal class, and then you retain the team really well. Kind of how did you make up that gap from when you came back from Ole Miss to where y'all are at now, where you kind of feel, I'm assuming, much more comfortable with kind of the approach to it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a comprehensive approach, and I probably can't even explain the depth that it took to get there, but it took everybody. First, we had to, again, and I talk about this a lot, you know, in the foundation of building our roster, but it's the same organizationally as well, right? We got to understand who we are, where we've been, where we want to go, and who we want to become, right? And this is LSU, and we're going to lead from the front, and we're going to continue to do so. And so what we had to do was identify that and find where that disconnect was, right, or where we could maximize that space. And it took alignment. It took vision from coach. It took administration, TAF, a whole bunch of people involved to help get us in a place where we could go out and educate, again, I use that word again, educate our donor base, right, and have them have an understanding of, and again, speaking previously of the collective model, right, that we were operating in. That education was critical to show them tangibly, right, via PowerPoint presentation, what we were doing, how we were building it, and where their funding was going, right? And so once they had an understanding of kind of what the model was and how we were, you know, allocating all that funding within the roster and what it took and how we were going to build it, a lot of people got on board, and it's a kudos to, you know, our donor base and the people of Louisiana for stepping up and helping us get through that time. You know, for us, what we did is I referenced a little bit ago about a 15-month decision to make us get in position where we could have sustained success. And so with that, what we did was when we went out and presented to our donor base, we actually started operating like we were on the RevShare in January. And so what we did is we allocated our funding that way so that we knew when this hit, right, on July the 1st, it was going to be a very seamless transition. And so that was a very conscientious and intentional decision that we made about this time last year to go out and say that so that, again, starting January, moving into July 1, our guys all just rolled over, and it was very seamless for us because we had already been operating within that model. We wanted to act like it started on January 1st, and was there some risk involved in that? Probably, but I felt like it was minimal in comparison to what it could have been to do it the other way.
Any chance you want to say how much money got spent on this team?
I'm not going to comment on that. When I said the NFL salary cap is $280, ours is significantly less,
Right.
And so I'll leave it at that.
Worth a shot. You know, y'all don't have a quarterback in this 2026 class. What is going to be just the approach to that position over the next few months and then into the transfer portal window in December as well?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a big picture, long-term approach, just evaluating things as we go on a weekly and monthly basis, right? You want to keep all your options open. We don't know how this 26 class will shake out yet. Obviously, we have a plan for the future, what that looks like in 2027 and beyond. And obviously, with Garrett leaving, that there's going to be a void there. We're going to have a new starting quarterback. But we feel really good about what we have here as well, and really excited about the future of those guys. And so give them an opportunity to compete and earn that position, and we'll kind of assess as we move forward.
I guess it's kind of somewhat in the same vein of that question, but how do you guys go about what you allocate per, whether it's just per position on a team in any given year or a particular player? Like, what are those conversations? Like, how do you sort of determine, which player gets what and what player gets, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
how do you go about that?
Yeah, from a rev share standpoint, it's really, I don't want to say predetermined, but again, I referenced this roster matrix that we worked with the NFL on that allowed us to at least have a launching point for every roster spot within every position. And what that does is, again, that becomes kind of our baseline, right? And then there's other ways to work within the margins to enhance that compensation, whether that's in third party, whether that's in some other creative things that we're able to do to kind of maximize those areas. And that, again, just because that number is for that slot in the revenue share, that doesn't mean it can't move. There are a lot of metrics and a lot of data that drive that up and down based on where we are. But no, we're constantly trying to, work within the margins to create the most competitive packages that we can for, our current roster, our high school guys that we're bringing in, and then supplementing through the transfer portal. Did that answer your question?
I guess I'm curious from a front office perspective, when you first learn about a player, whether it's high school or portal or trying to keep a player to getting them on campus for that next season, I'm wondering if you could walk us through the process in terms of general bullet points that you like to hit as a front office or as a staff, like between scouting, negotiations, and visits and things of that nature. Just what maybe does that process look like from abroad?
Yeah, they're all independent, and they're all different. And right, even when you talk about high school recruiting, right, some of these guys, their courtship is 2 years, maybe longer. Some of these guys it's 6 months, and so it really doesn't matter, right, like how long that courtship is. For us, what matters is just that you get here, right? And so then you take that and you parallel that with the transfer portal. That's obviously like speed dating. You don't have a lot of time to get to know the people that you're working with. So we try to do a lot of due diligence there. But a lot of it is really built, especially on the high school side, in relationships. And we try to grow those roots so that you can withstand the test of time, right? And things come at you, recruiting conversations come at them. And again, if it's driven by financials, in my opinion, that's a house built on sand, right? And so a lot of times those crumble. Financials are a part of the conversation, but what we try to do first is evaluate each other, right? We want them to get to know us, and we want to get to know them, and we want to know who's around them and who's helping them in their decision-making process. And from there, then you can start having the conversations about the fit and who they are and what they bring to our organization. Because at the end of the day, this is all about building a team. It's not just collecting talent. Right, and so it's like a puzzle. You have corner pieces, you have edge pieces, you have center pieces, and they're all different shapes and sizes. And so what you have to do is you have to take those and you have to fit them together, right, to make this thing complete and to make it whole. And so for us, just walking through that is tricky because everybody's journey, everybody's path is a little bit different. And so we rely a lot on our staff. We rely a lot on our recruiting staff to do a lot of that legwork ahead of time so that we have that information and we kind of know where to pick up and start that process. But again, financials are part of that conversation now, right? That's the reality of the world we live in. But at the end of the day, that can't be the driver for us, or we feel like that's in vain. Yeah, thank y'all. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.